The alternative to the story I chose is Edward Scissorhands was made with real hands. The story is being told by Kim, the girl who fell in love with him. Back many years ago, I met someone. This someone turned out to be someone very special to me. His name is Edward. It all started one day when my mother decided to go against what everyone else had said about going up to the creepy mansion. The mansion was at the top of the hill. She wanted to help whoever was living up there with the beauty products she was selling. No one really knew if anyone had been living up there or not. There had been myths of a man with scissors as hands living up in the mansion, but no one had ever dared to go up to the dark, creepy place. My mother decided to go inside and explore the house. What she found there is something that would completely change my life. She found a lonely man that had been living up there for years. She decided it was her responsibility to take him into our home. As she was driving home, the neighbors seemed to notice the dark appearance he gave off. At this time, I was off camping with some of my friends from high school. The night I had come home was the first time I had ever met this man. I'm not going to lie, it was a pretty scary moment. I had just come home to a strange dark man in my room. I screamed and my mother came running in the room. She quickly explained that this man was named Edward, and she brought him here. She explained everything to me about how she had felt the need to take care of Edward. One thing I noticed about him was he didn't talk much. He seemed timid and shy. I decided maybe I should get to know him better. I mean, it's not like I really have a choice, right? It took me a while to get used to seeing him in my house all the time. My friends called him a freak. They didn't even know him at all. I didn't even know him. The more I talked to Edward, the more I learned about him. I learned things about Edward I didn't even think were possible. I learned that he had never had a childhood or a mother. She didn't exist, actually. He told me he was an invention. He was made by a scientist right up at the dark mansion my mother had found him in. With this new information about Edward, I felt like I could understand him better. Better than anyone else, actually. My neighbors thought he didn't belong and that he should go back to where he was originally from. It even hurt me that they thought that. Edward had never harmed anyone. He was a completely normal person other than the fact that he was scientifically made, which they didn't even know about. They were just quick to judge him by his appearance. He was a gentle, caring person, but apparently that wasn't enough for them. Other than the way he dressed, he was no different than them. At one point, I started to question myself. Why did I care so much what other people thought of Edward? It took me a while to figure it out. I was in love with him. I loved him even though other people thought that it was crazy. I was happy. All thanks to my mom, I had found someone that I'd love and who had truly loved me back. We didn't let anyone tear us apart. Because we were so strong, we ended up starting our lives together. We decided to move out of the town I had grown up in. I started my own line of beauty products, and Edward became a writer. He wrote about his experiences in his life and how he never let anyone tell him what to do and where to go. He never let the people around him make him go back to his dark, lonely home at the top of the hill. A few years later, we started a family. We had 3 daughters and owned a dog. To this day, we're still a big, happy family. Edward and I grew old together. We even have 1 grandchild, and my life couldn't have turned out any better.